Listening is an act of love. Thank you. You can help lift up the voices, stories, and challenges we share by making a contribution at thiswayout.org.
A sincere thank you to all of you who already support This Way Out. Your support matters.
I'm Tanya Kane-Perry.
And I'm Joe Bainline.
With NewsWrap, a summary of some of the news in or affecting LGBTQ communities around the world for the week ending October 23rd, 2021. The threat of mass demonstration is turning up the pressure on the Ghanaian government to pass the Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill 2021. It's the most homophobic document the world has ever seen, according to the queer advocacy group Rightify Ghana. All expressions of LGBTQ identity, ally support, and medical care for transgender people would be outlawed. Same-gender sex is already a crime from the colonial era, but the law currently under consideration by a parliamentary committee would even ban sex toys. Public submissions have been requested. One such submission comes from Osagifo Agiman Badu II, president of the Banu Regional House of Chiefs. The regional tribal leader is threatening to storm parliament with 10,000 followers if the government fails to pass the bill. He said in a speech this week, "I want them to know that it's not a few people that are supporting the bill, but that chiefs in this country are strongly behind it. Pastors and a majority of Ghanaians are against the LGBT+, saying a man cannot marry a man and woman cannot marry a woman because how can they give birth and multiply in the world?" With hate-twisted logic, he added that he would be happy to let same-gender couples marry, in his words, with the condition that they will be killed if they fail to give birth within a year. Araba Forson is the mother of the popular Ghanaian transgender singer Angel Maxine. During a recent interview, they voiced strong opposition to the bill, and Forson promised a unique response to Chief Badu's threat to storm Parliament. She said she'll walk naked into Parliament to protest if the homophobic bill is adopted in the West African nation.
In southern Africa, the government of Botswana is appealing a 2019 ruling that overturned laws against consensual adult same-gender sex. Attorneys for university student Leshawet's Mochi Dimang had argued that same-gender love has become more accepted in Botswanan society. They said the laws making it punishable by up to 7 years in prison should be repealed. Sidney Pillane of the Attorney General's office argued for the government that there is no evidence of such a societal change. He said, "People don't hate or dislike gays. They simply just don't approve of what they do. It's not the court's responsibility to gauge whether people's attitude toward gay sex has changed. That responsibility should be placed with Parliament to change laws." Judges of the Court of Appeal have delayed announcing their ruling on the government's appeal. On October 12th, they advised that the issue needs further research and discussion.
South Korea's defense ministry has decided to appeal a district court order to reinstate the late trans soldier Byun Hee-soo. A military official said that the army is asking the Justice Ministry for a decision on the matter because it needed a higher court to review the issue. The Justice Ministry is responsible for reviewing lawsuits pursued by the state. Earlier this month, the district court ruled that the army must recognize Byun as a woman and overturn its discharge of the former staff sergeant as disabled. 2 years after she voluntarily enlisted as a male, Byun requested a transfer to a female unit after her reassignment surgery in 2019. She was booted from the service instead. Byun killed herself in March before the ruling in her favor, but her family has continued her lawsuit. According to the South Korean news service KBS, several human rights groups had urged the military to accept the pro-trans ruling, to no avail. It reports that 1,168 citizens and 239 organizations were named in petitions and comments calling for the appeal to be waived. KBS also noted that at least 24 other countries around the world now welcome military service by transgender people, recently including the United States.
During a tense confrontation in the European Parliament this week, Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki told European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen that his country will not be blackmailed. Morawiecki charged that the European Court of Justice was leading a creeping revolution intended to undermine Poland's sovereignty. Declarations of LGBT-free zones within the Eastern European country and the EU's forceful opposition to them had already strained relations. Tensions escalated following a Polish court ruling that the national law takes precedence over EU law. The European Commission soon shot back with a strong statement asserting EU legal supremacy over its member nations. Still, Morawiecki insisted the primacy of EU law does not extend to the constitutional system. The Polish constitution is the highest legal act in Poland. It stands above any other principle of law. If the resistance continues, the Commission could follow through on threatened sanctions against Poland, which include the withholding of EU funding. Some EU leaders are reportedly urging patience, however. Outgoing German Chancellor Angela Merkel and others advised the Commission to engage in further dialogue with Polish authorities. The BBC reports that Lithuania's President Gitanas Nausėda has offered to mediate the dispute. He warns that linking rule of law issues with funding could inflict unimaginable harm to EU unity.
The government of Russia has outlawed as extremist the Male State, a far-right hate group that has sponsored abusive campaigns against women's rights, minorities, and LGBTQ people. Its manifesto identifies the group as a radical patriarchy with the goal of changing the constitutional order. The Russian police's anti-extremist unit says it's a group that opposes the current political regime and believes that the Russian authorities are organizing a genocide of the male population. You can probably underscore opposition to Putin as a key factor. When journalist Anna Mongat interviewed a same-gender couple for her TV program in July, the Male State threatened to kill her children. The group was seriously outraged by a sushi restaurant ad that had the temerity to feature both rainbow colors and a black man. The extremist designation means that the group is banned in Russia. Members face jail time if they're convicted of organizing any male state actions. It joins other banned extremist groups that include followers of leading political dissident Alexei Navalny, the Islamic State, and the Jehovah's Witnesses. Meanwhile, the king of his own little male state urged Russians to maintain their spiritual values and historical traditions and to reject the socio-cultural disturbances of the West. In a speech this week, President Vladimir Putin called teaching students that a boy can become a girl and vice versa is on the verge of a crime against humanity.
Finally, a transgender teen in Western Australia is now free of his abusive parents. In upholding the boy known as TM's emancipation, Chief Justice Peter Quinlan noted that his parents did not and do not wish to acknowledge TM's gender identity. Quinlan found that the best interests of TM were, as a matter of law, the paramount consideration. All other considerations were secondary. TM first came to the attention of the Western Australian Department of Communities in 2019 after he was treated at Perth Children's Hospital for being suicidal. He told social workers he didn't feel safe at home because of his family's verbal and emotional abuse over his trans identity. He also said he had been physically abused by his brother. The hospital officially diagnosed TM with gender dysphoria. A psychiatrist's report found that TM was at a high risk of completed suicide if he remained at home. TM was over the age of 16 when a magistrate issued the protective order removing him from his parents' custody. They appealed that decision to the Western Australia Supreme Court. Criminology research associate Benjamin Scott told the Sydney Star Observer that the ruling is a good first step. His concern is that it does not actively prevent harm to trans and gender diverse children. It's only once these cases reach courts that this new precedent can have any impact. Further, whether his decision is followed in other jurisdictions in Australia is another question.
That's NewsWrap. global queer news with attitude for the week ending October 23rd, 2021. Follow the news in your area and around the world. An informed community is a strong community.
NewsWrap is written by Greg Gordon, edited by Lucia Chappelle, produced by Brian DeShazer, and brought to you by you.
Help keep us in ears around the world at thiswayout.org, where you can also read the text of this newscast and much more.
And you can read the transcript and listen to NewsWrap each week by subscribing to our This Way Out radio channel on YouTube. For This Way Out, I'm Joe Bainline. Stay healthy.
And I'm Tanya Kane Perry. Stay safe.
This Way Out delivers LGBTQ news and culture to more than 150 local communities on radio stations around the world, and we are also a free online news service. You can choose your favorite way to listen, online or on the air, at thiswayout.org. Please sign up for our free e-newsletter, Inside This Way Out. We will respect your trust in us and make sure your personal information is never shared with others.
Just send us an email at info@thiswayout.org to receive the informative and unique addition to the show. You'll be invited to join us for a more in-depth look into our stories and be encouraged to learn more about This Way Out's 3 decades of broadcast activism.
We hope you choose to join us in celebration of LGBTQ history and culture. Email us at info@thiswayout.org to join the movement.
We'll make sure you always know what's going on inside This Way Out.